What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Sport Exposure Podcast. As you know, we're here to expose sport stories, sport journeys to inspire the next generation of student athletes and really create a safe space for student athletes past, present, and future. Today, we have her story maker here with us, Dez Abrams. She is the NFL replay assistant as well. I'll let you finish, actually. She has so many titles. Please introduce yourself.
What's going on, y'all? Dez Abrams from the DMV area, currently residing in Washington, D.C. NFL replay assistant, global flag football ambassador, and NCAA tackle official and IFAF official.
For sure. So before we really get into this, I want to ask you, so here at Sport Exposure, we're all about celebrating our triumphs and learning from defeats. When you think about that motto in your sport journey, what comes to mind?
Man, resiliency. Like, straight up. That's what we learn as a foundation of sports, right? You are going to have bad moments, but you need to have a short-term memory, like Ted Lasso said, have a memory like a goldfish, and just come back and attack it again and again and again until you succeed. Like, sports is such a metaphor for life. You're going to have ups and downs, right? You're going to have some really tough moments, but how do you respond to them? And can you come back and keep moving on? Because you'll look back and those are some of the moments that shape you, for the good, for the better, for the reflective. It's a beautiful thing.
All of the above. Yes, I agree. So where did sports start for you?
I really don't have a memory of how in the world I got started. I know it was my dad, though. Like, blame it all on that man. He first introduced me actually to tennis and to swimming before any other sport. And I thought they were cool, but man, swimming was exhausting. Get out that water, your skin is all dry, you ashy,
wrinkled,
you so hungry, like your stomach is eating through your back. Man, this is tough. You got to be there super early in the morning. And it felt very, very solitary. And I was already an only child. So I was like, I want to just do these sports by myself. My opponent in tennis is way across the court, unless you're doing doubles. I was like, I don't know if this is for me. And then, he noticed my height. Like, I'm in second grade, 5 foot. So, it's just like, okay, maybe we can do something else with this. So eventually got into basketball, which I didn't start until, maybe high school. Junior high school. Like our high school coach was looking at me in middle school because we had a joint school and was just like, I think
that's an easy recruiter.
Be a good one. Yeah, absolutely recruiting. So yeah, was able to finally jump into basketball. And again, after trying a bunch of sports, soccer, karate, all that stuff. Soccer, I didn't like people kicking at my knees and shins. I was like, that's enough of that. That's enough of that. No.
I said it was too much running, but then I ended up playing basketball. So.
I know, right? Still not the same, though. Still not the same. I wish I could do soccer now. I could slim up the hips, but yeah, got into basketball and just found some great friends, a great new passion, a great way to be aggressive. Because generally I was quiet and reserved and just a new person to be on the court, and that was dope.
For sure. So when did you start taking basketball serious?
Probably once I actually got into AAU, right? So of course there was the high school circuit, but I was looking at some of the players I was with and I'm like, how come they're so good? And the skill sets that I'm getting from practice is just okay. And they're like, well, we do summer ball. And I'm like, summer ball? They're like, yeah, at AAU, you travel, you join up with a team, you travel and you play all summer. So I joined it with the Gym Rats and I met 2 of my best friends through high school at the time. And we would just play every single day, whether that be at the gym or outside on the courts, whatever it was. You'd wake up, ride your bike to a friend's house and then hit the court, and be there all day long. And that's when I just get better and better and better. And I was like, this might actually be a part of a career. This may be a part of my collegiate life because I always planned to go. How can we make this a thing?
Yeah.
In the background, though, I will say I always wanted to play football. It just wasn't available to me. So basketball, yet. To my knowledge, right? So basketball was the focus.
You went to college.
I did. And I played in college, but I went on an academic scholarship and walked onto the basketball
team. Your story.
Yes, walked onto the team. That. Yeah.
Because when we first met, we talked about that, and I was truly inspired by how that happened.
Yeah. So went to Florida A&M University, HBCU. I always wanted to go to one. My folks went to Virginia State, so I just had that foundation of wanting to go to HBCU and just how exciting it is in the community.
Very entertaining.
Yeah. So entertaining. I went on a college tour in high school. So we went to like Howard, we went to NC State, or North A&T rather. Went to down in Daytona. BCC. And when we eventually got to FAMU, there was this thing called the set that's out there. It's like the main strip in front of the school, where the old cafeteria was and the student union and all of the girls' dorms that happened to be. There also used to be a drive-through through campus. And so everybody on campus seemed like they were there. Music, sororities and fraternities, vendors, like all types of hype. This group called the Strikers, and they were dancing like on this stage. I was like, this is what it's like every day? I'm like, yeah, here, right here. This is it. And they happened to have my major, which was animal science and veterinary sciences. And the FAMU president was about giving scholarships. So I went on an 1890 scholarship, which is attached to the Department of Agriculture, and had a full ride for undergrad, man. And it was amazing. And after I figured that, okay, I can make it in college after my first year, I was like, what's missing from my life? Sport. So I got to find a way to make this team.
I was like, college is tough by itself.
Yeah.
It's a huge realization. Oh, I can do this.
It is. Yeah. Once you get that time management thing under control.
That's it. Yeah.
Find out how your teachers test and, what people you can work with to get the right grades. Yeah. You can pass that. Now I was like, all right, it's basketball. How we get on this team?
And what was that process like for you?
So I met the coach, Coach Farmer, went down to her office, told her a little bit about my background. I wasn't really recruited out of high school. Like there were a few places that offered, like Marymount University, Temple on a partial, and Virginia Tech on a partial. I was like, I'm not a partial kind of person. Like I'm all in. They're like, you want me, you don't have all of me. Arrogant kid. But
you knew your worth. That's all it was.
For sure. So she's like, well, we do have tryouts. I don't really take a lot of walk-ons. It's not my practice, but you can come and see what we've got. And I guess I didn't disappoint too badly because I was able to make the team, me and 3 other walk-ons, and started building that foundation of how to get into the starting lineup from there, which I was never a big offensive person. Like I was afraid to shoot.
Really?
I hope that's not a metaphor for life because I had a shot, right? Like I always had a shot. My dad was like, why don't you shoot? I was like, I don't want to miss.
See, most kids are the opposite. We like to shoot.
Yeah. No, I was about defense.
Not my thing.
All about defense, man. I loved it. The feel of blocking the ball and just throwing that thing out the back of the court, hearing the oohs, like that was perfect. Because I know you feel bad about that. Like you should have laid that up better, bro.
Right.
Or you just being a star player, like used to scoring 27 points a game if you're in the post, right?
Not down here.
If you're used to that. Yeah. And you just not being able to do it, to be able to shut that down and have that responsibility, that was a source of pride for me.
For sure.
And offense had to be part of the game. So I had to learn how to really, really incorporate that.
So when you incorporated basketball on top of your student life, so you became a student athlete.
Became a student athlete.
What was that transition like? Because a lot of kids struggle as freshmen, but you got the school down pat first and then decided to add sports.
Yeah.
When you add sports on top of the academic side, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, you have no life. You have no life at all. And the season was much longer than I expected. I didn't know we had to stay during break. Like when people went home for like winter break and stuff, or if they went for like fall break, we still had to stay and play a tournament or whatever. So I'm just like, oh man, the dorms are empty and it's just me inside the dorms because those who are on scholarship had housing off campus. So I'm like, it's just me walking through the hallways alone, like, anybody around? But yeah, no breaks, man. Just per diem, figuring out how to eat, when to study, and when to get to practice 2 or 3 times a day, depending on the part of the season.
No, seriously.
Yeah. No, it was tough, but I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy like we're doing all this stuff together. We're grinding together. It's going to be tough, but hopefully we come out the other side with some sort of victory.
Do you think that being a student athlete at FAM and being a walk-on was a turning point in your life?
Yes, only because after playing a couple of seasons as a walk-on and my first coach getting fired, and this new coach coming in who we didn't vibe at all.
Let's talk about that because a lot of us go through that as well.
Yeah, didn't vibe at all. Not on my part and anything that I felt like I did. She just said from jump she didn't trust me and didn't like who I was as an individual. So I'm like, oh, what am I supposed to do? And working with that. I do stuff like ask her questions on the bus, like, hey, coach, where are you from? And such and such and such and such. And she's like, what angle are you trying to work? I'm like, I'm trying to get you to know you as a person versus like you telling me just to run up and down the court, every single day. But she was like that with a lot of players, a lot of great players on our team and seemed like it turned their career the other way. I worked my way into a starting position. So
from a walk-on, that's
yes, I think it's rare. But again, that defensive prowess and then combining it with when I did have the opportunity to at least contribute on offense, it made it work. But yeah, so at the end of the second season, she was just like, all right, you're going into your senior year. Here's what I want you to do. Work on all of this stuff during the summer. So she gave me this workout, it was really extreme, like worse than whatever we did in practice. But I did it. And I would send her a weekly update sheet each week with my trainer. Like they would sign it and send it into her like, all right, I'm doing the work. I'm doing the work. I'm doing the work. Get back in the fall, ready to start, not fall, but August, like ready to start. And she's like, so I've cut all of the walk-ons and appreciate that you did work this summer, but if you'd like to come back and try out, here's the date. Maybe we'll see you there. And I was truly insulted, just like based off the work that I had done and the commitment that I felt I had made to the team. And I didn't even ask for any kind of sponsorships or anything. Like I didn't ask for anything from you but a chance to like actually be there. But I don't know the ins and outs of what she has to do as a coach and the slot she has to fill and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Like, I don't know any of that. So her decision, and I was like, nah, I'm done. So didn't come back, didn't go try out, and instead started embarking on an entrepreneurial career. So I met a good friend of mine who also played basketball, and we started a promotion business for club night. And so it turned to, hey, you're just focused solely on sports, to now promoting events, whether it was sports-based or just club and party-based, and making a little bit of money. Because, we broke college students.
No,
like,
for real. Any penny
gotta
counts.
be creative.
Right.
Gotta be creative in the way you get your funds. And that just took off. And so I was like, man, forget that part of sport. I was like, I wanted to do something else anyway. I had also discovered flag football because FAMU had a team, still has a team. Shout out Simply Marvelous, FAMU and Marvin. Yeah, man, like I was like, football's where I really want to go. And now that I discovered that, I can play that as an aside, like a casual thing, and focus on this business stuff instead. Which ultimately led me to what I'm doing with NWFOA, with WNFC, and everything else I'm doing in the promotion of women's flag and tackle football. So
everything happens.
It was
for
a good
reason.
thing. It was a good thing,
So how many years did you spend playing ball at FAM?
A total of only 2, right? Because I only did freshman year as a regular student, and then sophomore and junior played, and then senior year chose not to walk the team. Yeah. But I went back to FAM for grad school, and so continued with athletics there with Simply Marvelous and with travel basketball, intramural, and travel flag football.
What would you say your student athlete life at FAM taught you?
And people are going to doubt you and your abilities. Like as a team, we were doubted. We weren't expected to go to the championship, even though we made it to face Howard. As an individual, I wasn't expected to make the team or make the starting lineup or to be a contributor. As an individual, like I had an initial like standoffish kind of feel with my teammates, like they didn't seem to like me. Like they thought I was about something when it turns out when they got to know me, I was actually something else. And like now we're all still friends. Like we still connect and communicate. Just whatever perceptions that people have of you, that's their own and that's their own to deal with.
For sure.
You keep believing in you and pushing forward and doing what you believe in and know who you are. And keep going, man. Just like forget all the words, forget all the haters, whatever it is.
The sky's the limit. Literally.
Straight up.
Literally.
Straight up.
So from after fam, you said you went to grad school.
I did. Yeah.
What'd you major in?
Animal science and veterinary medicine, pre-vet medicine.
So what was your ultimate goal?
To be a veterinarian. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, to work with animals on a daily basis. Ideally large cats. Had a few
large cats.
Like lions, tigers,
okay.
cheetahs,
That's
like
what I thought. But
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Not necessarily to be in like domestic animal kind of companion care stuff. So not just like cats and dogs that you have as pets, but like larger things, be on safari somewhere.
Wildlife.
Yeah.
Did you pursue that at all?
I did. But my scholarship was based at a land grant university, right? An agricultural university. So most of the stuff that we learned was ag focused. So I'm on the FAMU farm in Quincy, like herding cattle and goats and this may seem grotesque, but like castrating pigs, like out in open fields and stuff. Like I'm doing hands-on veterinary farm work, learning how to process chickens,
what
all that kind of stuff.
Like?
I was a vegetarian for like a year after processing chicken after meats class, like learning how to do cuts of meats, because that's what agriculture is, right? We have animals to make them bigger, stronger, faster so we can eat them, not for companion love, like for a human animal bond kind of thing. And I eventually found out that wasn't for me, but so much of my training was in that. That's where I led into after graduation. So worked for the Department of Agriculture as a program specialist in animal science, biotechnology, animal genomics, and animal health. So running programs to help people do research on animals, again, for us to eat them. Eventually found out like that wasn't my thing.
How did you figure that out? Because some people struggle with that. Because we get degrees in some things that we think we want to be in for the rest of our lives, right? And sometimes when you get out there and get your toe wet a little bit, like, I know I just got 2 degrees in this, but I don't think that this is my route.
Yeah. So mine was when I actually got into vet school. So been wanting to do that since I was 6 years old. Like, yeah, I'm going to vet school. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be so great. It was the toughest academic pursuit ever in life. I appreciated my HBCUs because they had small classrooms and teachers that dedicated their time to help you succeed. It was not like that at this PWI at all. Wasn't like that at all. Like I'm in a classroom with 100 and some people, sort of like your freshman lecture hall kind of thing. But that was just our regular class every day. All of us striving to be veterinarians, all of us going through anatomy classes, all that good stuff. And when we went through our rounds and rotations, I'm just like, I don't think this is what I want to do every day. Working with clients the way that you do, having to tell people like, hey, I got to put your animal down, or like you might have to make the decision to take your animal down. Seeing the diseases that were there, just like a lot of stuff that just didn't make me feel good about that environment. It wasn't the aspect of veterinary medicine that I wanted to be involved in. I did have one clinical rotation that was animal psychology. And that's where I learned, like, if this is something that people are interested in, like sort of like how you have dog training courses. Mm-hmm. If you want to know how you and your pet can coexist in the same space because you love them, you want to work with them, like you can actually sit in sessions with them to learn how to do that. That's not everybody's cup of tea, but I thought it was interesting as heck. It means that you need to understand this thing that doesn't speak English, that doesn't have necessarily human characteristics, even though we anthropomorphize animals all the time. That was the goal. So I was like, okay, I'm going to work in agriculture. I'm going to make the money, but we're going to find a different path to get into relative. I don't need to help people eat animals. They're going to do that by themselves.
Yeah.
Not for me.
And what was that path like for you, trying to figure out a different route? Okay, this is what I want to do. This is what I like doing.
Yeah.
Trying to find your own route or your own path. And I can attest to it like in sports. I like to say I created my own lane.
Yeah.
Because I like sports. Yeah. I have 2 degrees in sports. I did everything I was supposed to do, but it still wasn't fulfilling for me.
Right.
I still wanted to be a part of sports.
Right.
But I wanted to be a part of sports on my own time, which is why sport exposure is what it is.
Yeah.
So what was your journey like for that?
So I really think it was finding out that women's football existed, right? So working for the Department of Agriculture with a couple of folks in our cubicle, messing around, killing some time in between the next meeting. And a friend of mine pulls up women's tackle football in DC Diva. She's like, hey, didn't you say that you wanted to play football? She's like, did you know that this existed out there? I'm like, nah, not at all. Like, I think maybe at that time I had stopped looking or whatever it was. But she's like, yeah, there's this team, DC Divas. They're here in DC. It says they got tryouts in like 3 weeks. She's like, you should go do it if you're interested. And I'm like, word, I did it. And man, it was so much fun. Like from that point on, I was like, oh yeah, football is the way to go for me. And I know we'll get there, but like that's eventually what led to me doing the work that I'm doing now. But like just being able to immerse myself in that sport, the sport I've always wanted to play, a sport where I can use my size and physicality without, getting fouled out of the game because you bump into somebody just a little bit too much,
a physical sport,
where it's encouraged to hit people legally. Man, I never turned it back at all.
And what year was that?
Oh, that was, 2006, I think.
Wow.
2005, 2006.
And fast forward to now, it's a thing.
Yeah.
A bigger thing.
Yeah. I mean,
growing.
But turns out women's tackle have been around for 20 years prior to that. It just didn't get a lot of traction or notoriety. It still doesn't, get the kind of notoriety it deserves, but it's because there's no pathway program for it. But with the introduction of women's flag in high school and in college, it's going to get it. It's going to have that pathway for women to play tackle as well. So
you've been a part of the exposure portion of football, women's football, 2006 to now, almost 20 years later. Look, would you expect it to be where it is now today?
Man, I hope at least, right? Like, I hope at least, like all those who were pushing on my end and even before me, like obviously we had dreams of seeing of what the NCAA looks like or what the NFL looks like. Obviously that's what we want eventually. I mean, it took the NFL close to 100 years to get where they are. Like it's cool if it takes us a little bit longer, but we have so much more technology and way to, spread information now. Yeah. So we're like, let's go, man. Let's move. And really appreciate the fact that, IFAF, International Federation for American Football, the NFL, and now the Olympic Committee has recognized flag football for men and women for them to be able to participate in the Olympics.
That's huge.
Right. It is huge. For it to be pushed by the NFL and NFL flag, for it to be in high schools, or it to now be in its 4th year of the NAIA tournament for women's flag championships. That's going to be in Atlanta at the Mercedes-Benz stadiums and the Falcons host. Like that's
so
amazing stuff.
Yeah.
It's just now in the NCAA. They're the first NCAA conference is going to start up next year, the AEC. Like it's an exciting time for flag football in general, but definitely for women in this space of football. I
was going to ask you, what has your journey like as a woman been being a football player?
I mean, to me, like I always was and just didn't realize it, didn't recognize it until I actually got to get on that field and start practicing that way. And I was like, this is a perfect fit. This is exactly the sport that I'm supposed to be doing. And being around all the women and men that are playing or coaching you to play, like it all feels natural. And then when you talk to guys who are just like, oh, you played, and being able to talk at the same level as them, like that's amazing.
It is.
That's wonderful. And they're like, oh, like
you
it's a
really
whole new
know what
part
you're talking
of you.
about.
I didn't know. Like I didn't even know this about you. And of course, you have some guys that are just like, women playing football. Like, what are you talking about? It's like, okay, come check us out. Like, if that's how you feel about it,
Yeah.
like, I'm going to invite you into the space instead of just getting upset about your perception. Because, like, I get it. I understand, like, it traditionally hasn't been a thing, but come check it out and see what it does look like. Right. Until it was, until it is, until it's going to be. So
Exactly. And I feel like that's just with women, period. Like, they just be so shocked to have us in a room. Like, she's doing what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I play the same sport you play. What about it? Or I work in the same industry you work. What about it?
Right.
And I think it's so dope for women, just in general, women in sport getting the recognition that we finally, I feel like we deserve. And it's still an uphill battle. But it's just like now we're seeing more and more. I'm like, okay, y'all starting to recognize us. We've been here forever.
Yeah.
But we're starting to get the recognition. And being on the football side, which is foreign to myself, what would you say were some of the ups and downs of your journey?
As a player or as an official? Because, man, they two different
Let's start
lives.
with player, and then we'll get to the official side.
As a player, some of the ups and downs. I mean, it's an adjustment, right? You coming from basketball and all these other sports to now trying to work in a football body and do the football movement. So you gotta have your periods of soreness. Basketball, you may have fallen on the court a few times, but it's not like a constant pow, pow, pow. Like, and I'm on the line, right? I'm a defensive line, so I'm constantly hit. I'm hit every play, every single play. I think it could be like them cute receivers out there, like maybe on occasion, but like we're in the trenches. Like I bang every play, so getting used to the feeling of broken fingers, to stepped on toes, to bruises all the way up your side of your body, which I invested in a lot of hex padding because I love my body, man. I wasn't trying to feel like that every day. Trying to understand the schemes, trying to work within the competition of your own team, right? Like there's a lineup and you may not make that lineup. How to get on the field and actually execute and be a high level performer every single game in that environment. People would say it's the same as basketball, but it's just slightly different. And now you are really, really relying on your teammates to do what they have to do in their positions. I feel like basketball, we have a little bit more flexibility. Individuality. Everybody can score. Yeah. That ain't the case on the football field. Everybody's not going to be able to do that. They can't, even by definition and position. Like you as an offensive line, like are not going to score. Likely, a very small percentage. You're not really actually supposed to touch the ball unless certain scenarios, certain situations exist on the field where that allows you to do that. But on every regular play, it ain't happening. Defense, you hope you get to touch the ball because that means you're going the other way and you get to like run down to the end zone and be in the camera and all that good stuff, man.
Have you experienced that, family?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Have I got a scoop and score? God, yes.
What was your first time? What was that feeling like for you?
Almost as good as my first tackle of like really laying somebody out on the ground. Never seeking to hurt anybody, right? But just doing your good form, doing my job. And then when doing that, knocking the ball out of their hands so that either I can get up, bear crawl and scoop and get the ball and make sure I secure it for my offense, or knocking it out so that my teammate that's right beside me, and we've practiced it 100 times in practice, scooping the ball up and running towards the end zone, as fast as you possibly could as a defensive lineman with like no ACLs. That's
tough.
The sacrifice that women in football had to make, and anybody who plays in women's football knows, like, we don't have the same kind of resources as any other sport that's been around since forever. You just are really happy for the moment. Sometimes you were happy that you could even make it to a game site because you all had to pool the money to make that happen. To see things like, oh gosh, tag on ESPN. It was like, but your game, your championship can't get recognized or put on ESPN. But shout out to groups like the WNFC who've been working super hard to make sure that women are getting visibility and that games are streamed and televised so they can actually see the talent that's out there. Yeah.
They do a really good job at highlighting women in football.
Yeah, man. Like, they should have their own channel. Like, seriously. Like,
no, for real. They should.
Like, seriously, man. Like, there's a lot of content out there, and the stories that these women have and the sacrifices that they're making to this game, this thing that we love is fantastic.
And I'm gonna ask you a little bit more about the sacrifices.
Yeah.
On the sacrifice side, what does that look like? We had Q Younger up here, Hollywood, a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And she just talked about the things that she gave up just to pursue her dream of being a football player. And just to listen to things that, you're not getting paid, the resources are slim to none. Mm-hmm. She said that they were driving 3 hours back to practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
when I paid for the Atlanta Xposure, same thing. Like I lived in Athens, so that's like an hour away, but in Atlanta traffic, wherever you're going, so maybe an hour or two to practice back and forth a couple times a week while in vet school trying to study. You still have to pay to play to be there, or like paid so that the team can play. Not being able to go to friends' birthdays or like travel home because like I'm broke, I don't have the money, like, or I'm in season. That happens now as an official too. Like it didn't even change that much. It gotten worse as an official. Like I'm constantly gone, man. Like you're away from your family, you're away from your friends, you're away from major events. Like you just miss a lot. Like not only are you giving the physical and emotional and the monetary, like you're just gone. Like you're absent, man. Like you sacrifice a lot just to be a part of this.
What keeps you going?
I don't know. We're probably all crazy. We're probably all insane, man.
To do something like this.
It's you just love it. You love it. Like there's such a passion for it, the camaraderie, the amazing talent that you get to see, the things that you discover within yourself. Like it's addictive. It really is. Like it was hard for me to hang up my cleats. The only thing that eventually made me is knowing that the playing time was coming to an end because I couldn't perform at the level that I wanted to on the football field. And that's hard for all football players, right? Like, what you once were. And although you may still be a leader in the environment, if you can't perform at it, now you're on the sideline. Now you're just like, all right, it's time to move into something else. Like that's a mind.
Yeah.
I'm not going to curse on the show, but like that messes with you because for such a long time, you felt like maybe you were just that. But in reality, like you should have been diversifying yourself to see what other areas you could go into.
And that's all of our athlete stories, honestly, truly. And a lot of athletes struggle with trying to figure out when is it time to put it up. And some cats wait too long, wait too late, or injury or a nick too late.
Right.
And it's a huge moment for you to realize that, okay, I don't think my body can do this no more.
Right.
What was your moment where you knew that your body couldn't do that anymore? Because that's a lot of wear. When you think about sports and the amount of time we've been playing, like if we've been playing your entire life, that's a lot of wear and tear. Like in my head, I think about how many miles my legs have on them.
Right.
Like.
Right. I was playing on the hardwood too. Like at least I'm in grass, little cushiony. Like, yo, man. I don't know, because I wake up on a daily basis like, nah, I could still go out there. I could go try out tomorrow and still make it, right? Maybe not. I think my last season, I'd moved back to DC and I was with the Divas. And our O-line, we always had a solid O-line, but like somehow they got bigger. Like they got bigger and stronger and like just immovable. And so I remember one practice where I kept going up against this girl named Branch and just could not get around. I swear she was just like doing like this the entire time. And I'm like,
it's not working.
And I'm just like, okay, I don't know what happened, where I missed the speed. Like I had a few back injuries from like blindside blocks on kick plays and all kind of stuff like that's truly injured me and inhibited my ability to get off as fast as I wanted to off the line. So I'm like, there's got to be something else. And my general manager introduced the idea of officiating to me and 3 other defensive players. And we're like, why we want to do that? Like, we don't even like officials. Why would we want to go
and be one?
like be one? It's like, well, if nothing else, he's like, you could learn about what things we need to help us here on the field. And I was like, all right, man, anything for the team. You got it. You got it, Rich. So I went to the NFL Officiating Academy. And that, over anything physical, completely changed my notion of what I'm going to do in the future of this sport.
Really?
To find out how much officials actually give. Because what I thought was like, y'all get this shirt from Dick's Sporting Goods.
Whistle.
Yeah, a whistle, all of that. They got a little pack for y'all. Y'all come out here because somebody asked you to. You don't study. You don't care about our safety and health. Like, you just out here to make a couple dollars. I don't know how much they paying you, but like, that's all you out here for. Turns out they actually dedicate a lot of time, a lot of study, a lot of travel to getting better at this craft. To learning how the game is actually played. Because we think as players, we know the game. You don't know the game. You think you know the game. You don't know the game at all. And I can say that from having been there. Like, you think you know the rules on kickoff. You think you know what a false start is. You think you know what pass interference is. Everybody tells me what they think pass interference is. And I'll be like, okay, it's pass interference. Defensive pass interference, right? Tell me the categories. And they'll be like, what? Tell me what category it falls in if it's defensive pass interference. Silence. Until like you know that, you don't really fully know the game. And that Officials Academy, it taught me that. And I was like, oh, I'm going to be a nerd about this. I got to get into this. That's what helped me transition out of playing more than the physical aspect did. I'm sure I would have discovered that later on. But the knowledge of the game, the fact that I know that I could be in the best seat in the house anywhere in the world, turns out, not just in the country, but anywhere in the world, still being a part of this game, still positively affecting what's happening. Try to keep players out of trouble if you possibly can. Preventative officiating. Man, that's what it was about. And I'm like, yes to this. Whatever this looks like, I'm in 100%. And oh, by the way, you get paid to do it. I'm not paying to play. You get paid to do it. So you make a little bit of change as well. This might be a look.
Dope. And what year was that?
2014.
10 years in.
Yeah.
Where has the officiating life taken you?
All over the world, man. Like, it's been stupid. It's been amazing. I never would have imagined I've been some of the places I've been. Like, and I met some of the best people I would ever meet. Because it turns out you can't be a high level official and be an asshole. Pardon my French.
No, you're fine.
Like,
you're fine.
Turns out you can't be a bad person and be a high level official, man. These are great people who love their families, who love the game and sacrifice every single day from it. I mean, I know in the past that like the scrutiny that officials got, like I'm talking about like 40 years ago, wasn't what it is now. Like, the fact you're used to being yelled at as an athlete, right? So like, that's not a big deal to me. Like, you're used to being yelled at, but like some of the things that people say in the stands to you, some of the stuff they'll say or do around your family, some of the stuff on social media is just like vicious. And professional athletes are used to that, right? But like, I wasn't at that level. Like, I wasn't at that level in college. The level of scrutiny that collegiate players have now, and wasn't at that level in women's tackle. So like, seeing that kind of stuff now is like, you got to be a different breed to be an official.
How do you block all that stuff out?
You focus on your work. A lot of it you don't hear, right? Like, it drowns out with the noise of the crowd, which is why I love football. Like, them people way over there.
You on the field.
Straight up. I'm on the field. Like, definitely admire basketball officials. Like, what's the young lady that you had here? Shalisa? Yeah. That was a dope interview with her. Like, she has people right here saying crazy stuff to her. For me, all I got to worry about is the players and coaches. I can handle them. Like, anybody else is making comments are way, way up there. And anybody who tries to come on to the field, I got security around me for that. Like, I'm good on it. But for the more personal interaction ones, like the flag football tournaments that I participate in, man, like you just gotta numb yourself out to it and just like nod and be like, okay, I understand. Like, you entitled to your opinion, or come back like with an invite. Be like, okay, so you think it's this, you think it's that. That same question I ask about DPI, like, tell me the categories. If you can't, I'm like, we have meetings every Monday night. Why don't you come join me? And I can teach you about what those things actually are. Like, I can absolutely see what you see from your position, but here's my responsibility here, and here's what I saw. Like, you just have to get through it. And some days I'm just arrogant about it. I'm like, y'all don't know what you're talking about. I do.
You have to
because I'm in this. I'm studying it every day. And for flag, there's like 7 different styles, man. So like I got to keep all of that organized on a daily basis. So feel however you want to feel. I get it. I was a player too, but now I know so much more about the game. So like you can't tell me nothing that's going to hurt my feelings about it.
It's a lot that goes into officiating.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Have you had to deal with some crazy coaches?
Yeah, that's the fun part, though, man. That's where you
forget
get
about the crowd. What about the ones that's right here?
That's where
coaches get a little wild.
Yeah, that's where you get those beautiful stories from. And some of the coaches, like I get some of the strategy now. Some of them do it to hype up and affect their players. Some of them do it for notoriety, and others truly because they're mad in that moment. But like, it's a relationship building thing with coaches, particularly if you're in a conference. Like you're going to see that person over and over and over. So now like we build a relationship. If I'm your short wing official, I'm with you all game, coach. So like I'm listening to you for when you want to call timeouts. I'm trying to help your assistant coach over there to like, hey, coach, your offensive line is not on the line of scrimmage. Like get them up so I don't have to, throw a flag on them. Like I'm team my sideline. Like I'm trying to help you all as much as I can. But if I've told you a couple of times, eventually like you earn it. And there's some things that I have to do. Right. But I'll try as much as I can to give you the best outcome possible. But like sometimes you're going to get it. And I'm not allowed to speak to you crazy. Right. Like off the cuff. Like I can't talk about how bad your team's doing, even though like y'all throwing the ball to this kid that can't catch like down the field. Like y'all keep doing that. I was like, I'm not going to tell you to like give it to this all-star running back, but you should have been doing the whole game. Like I can't talk trash about your team. Why are you going to talk trash about my team? So once you do, and every official has their own threshold of what they'll tolerate. If you pass a certain line, like now I got to bang you for that. And it's simply a respect thing. Like we don't want to let it to get to that level, but coach, be as crazy as you want as long as you're respectful in your speech. So.
If I said, coach, I know my coach was wild.
Yeah.
I used to feel bad for the refs. Like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, and I mean, and I was as a player too. Like different personalities, different aspects of the game bring it out of you. Officials are expected to be super stoic and professional at all times. You'll see them break from time to time, but like, could you imagine like somebody is rah, 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 rah in your face and you just have to be like, yeah, no, I understand. Yes, coach. One of the big axioms that we have as officials is we answer questions, not statements. So like you can make a statement about how you feel all you want.
Okay.
But like coach, eventually we're like, is there a question in there? Because if there isn't one, you don't have to respond. I mean, let you vent. Like I hear your frustration. Like, but unless there's something for me to answer to, like I don't have to say anything back that could possibly get me in trouble with you. So it's a good talk, coach. I'm going to get back to the game.
Right. So I know I asked you about ups and downs from the playing side.
Yeah.
From the officiating side. And you've been a part of history. You've been breaking barriers. What has that been like? Because I tell people all the time, like to make history is not easy because it comes with a lot.
Yeah. I would say from an officiating standpoint, it's really the same kind of ups and downs that you would have as a player, right? You have people that are for you, people that are against you and not interested in giving you an opportunity, people that'll talk badly about you. It's the same thing in officiating. The ups is that you have a crew around you, people who know that once you step on the field, like they can only be as good as we are together. So we have to look good collectively. We all have to work together. But as individuals, there can be some moments where you're like, oh man, I thought I had your support. And instead of making me better, like you decided to talk about me behind my back. It's just, it's life. It's life. But for those that truly do support you, like they come as mentors, they come as like constructive criticism peers. And that's what officiating is. Like you're going to be told about yourself and you need to learn how to take that.
Be receptive. Yeah.
Yeah. And grow from it. And And as a woman in the sport, you see all types of stuff, like, but you see it equally from both genders, quite honestly. But I totally live in a world of abundance, right? I don't believe that there's a shortage of success for anybody.
It's enough out here for everybody.
Right. Like there's enough out here. Just because you succeed doesn't mean that I'm not going to succeed. Like you succeed, I'm going to lift you up and applaud you. And I know that if I keep grinding, my next shot is open and available. And I think that my career is evidence of that. Like I've gotten some amazing opportunities simply because of being present, being available, being positive, and being interested in learning and getting better and knowing that I'm not perfect. We all strive for perfection, but we're never going to be perfect. If we ever have a perfect game, we're hanging up our whistle like that game because we'll never do it again. You'll never do it again.
Yeah.
So we're just striving for it, man. Like the downs are going to be there and like they're hurtful. I remember working a flag tournament in Orlando, and this is 9-man contact. So it's basically tackle football. And I'm across the field, and right in front of one of my short wing partners, there's a guy running the wrong direction down the field. You know what I mean? Like the wrong direction. Like the offense is going this way, and a player's going still on offense. He's running back this way towards his own line. I'm like, that's what we call somebody with a brick in their hand. Like they're up to no good. They're about to go hurt somebody. Sure enough, he comes and blindside cracks this dude, like, pow. That guy's now on the ground, injured. The play's still matriculating downfield. And I throw a flag from across the field and keep working until the play is ended. So we come back and, medical is paying attention to the guy. I give my referee the result of the play. Like, here's where the play's ended. I've got a legal blindside block on number such and such and such, and it's going to be from this spot. And the guy comes up and he's like, what the heck are you talking about, ref? He's like, that's some bull. This football, this contact, you could do this. I'm like, yeah, but even in football, like that's an illegal play, bro. Like completely. That's a safety issue. Like you see where the guy is, like on the ground, like what purpose did that serve? And he's like, you can't throw that from here. You can't throw that. That man's supposed to throw that over there. I was like, I can throw it because flag mechanics are different than tackle football officiating mechanics. I can throw it because there's only 3 of us on the field versus 7, 8, a sky judge. Like there's like, I can because I've seen it and it's clearly illegal. And so whatever, we move past that point. But after the game, I've got my chair and some food and stuff over in the corner. I go over there to refresh and he comes over and is berating me again. He's just like, you shouldn't be on this field. You don't know nothing. And whatever he's laying into me. And I'm just sitting there nodding and taking it. I get up to walk. He comes back again and is like on my shoulder and he's like, rah, 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 rah. And I put my arm around him. Cause by this point I figured we close. Like you already on my shoulder. I put my arm around him. I'm like, what's going on, man? I was like, look, man, like I understand what you're thinking, but here's why I had to call it. And here's why I'll always call it. And he's like, get your arm off me. And I'm just like, my bad, man. I thought we was close now.
Like, it was all up on my shoulder.
Yeah. So talk to him. He walks away. I come back to my seat and I just start breaking down crying. Like, bawling, crying. And I'm at a tournament, so like hundreds of people around. So like I got to put my shirt over my face, just hurt to my core to know that as much as I sacrificed to be here, like it's in Florida. So I'm traveling hundreds of miles away from home. I'm being paid like $30 a game, $30 for this 1 hour and 30-minute game that I'm at. And this is probably like my 8th game of the day. In the sweltering heat with officials who may or may not know their stuff, because sometimes truly for these tournaments, like we just got to fill with bodies. Sometimes like we put them in and people get better as they come more and more, right? And just all these components, plus now this dude's yelling at me and I can't react like I'm not supposed to from all of my training. Like I'm not supposed to lose my stuff. Like it just hurt me to my core. Like all I'm trying to do is be a better official and help protect the players on the field, right? Like what you did was illegal. What you're doing had nothing to do with football. Like I'm doing my job. And just to hear you say like, I'm trash, like me as an entire individual, not just as an official, like as a whole person, Like I was hurt, man. Seriously hurt. He came up later. Like after I got my stuff together, he came up later. It's like, ref, I just want to tell you something. I know I said a lot, but I still want to tell you you're trash. And I was like, geez, dude. I'm like, all right, I see what you did there. Cool. And like, that was like a issue moment, but it was also a great thing because I was like, okay, I got that out of my system now. This may be what it's like from time to time. You are going to give a lot of yourself, and it may not be appreciated, but like, you know what you're doing. The people on the field, the people in this officiating community know what you're doing. And for those who've been around me where I work women's football, whether it's tackle or flag, they know how much I care about the game too. So like those players would be like, oh yes, I love her. She's with this. Like, yes, we got Dez today. She's with that ref. Like they know how much I get to the game and how much I respect it and that they're going to have an even game, right? And I'm going to keep them out of trouble. So like, that's the motivation. That's what keeps me going. Like, forget that guy. I know what he's talking about.
Go where you celebrate it.
Straight up.
And that's a life lesson I had to learn because of those moments. Like when you feel like shit, you feel like it's the lowest, but it's just like looking back, those were my turning points. Like, being a woman in sport, this may be what this feels like. Mm-hmm. This is maybe what the rest of my life looks like if I decide to keep going this journey. And it's one of those things as women we deal with so often, but don't talk about. Like, we still have feelings. Like, we work in a male-dominated industry, but we're still women at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. We still have feelings. We're still human.
Right.
And when people disrespect what you take to heart and what you study and you take time and you dedicate yourself to and you sacrifice, you make so many sacrifices to be in this position. And it's still an asshole out there who come out here and say any type of thing to you. But like you said before, you got to be numb to it just to be in the room. Just to be in your shoes. And from 2014 to when you get started, you talked about your opportunities. Talk about some of the specific opportunities that football has opened for you.
All right. So traveling with the U.S. national team, the U.S. national flag, women's and men's football team to IFAF, again, that international style that's going to be part of the Olympics. Traveling to Finland, traveling to Jerusalem, traveling to Canada, traveling with the Star Right Foundation to introduce flag football in Ghana, coming back recently from Brazil and training officials there, like going places and seeing things and absorbing cultures that like I just didn't know was possible, right? So, I mean, the involvement that I have is multifaceted with football. So, yeah, there's the flag officiating life, but then there's the tackle officiating life. Like,
so many avenues.
Yeah, there's stuff with the WNFC and being a coordinator of officials. So, trying to organize 16 teams across the country in 15 different states with at least a pool of 12 to 15 officials in each one of those states or team areas, trying to coordinate them each week of the season, make sure they do penalty reports, watch their film, try to give them constructive feedback, trying to grow the game for the better. Like positions I never thought I would be in. I never thought I would be an assigner. I never thought I would be a trainer in something.
The WNFC?
Yeah, with the WNFC, I'm the head of officiating. Yeah, no, they're an amazing group. They put in a lot of work and they believe in this sport. They believe in the sport and they believe in making the teams better and getting them up to what club teams in the NFL look like.
And I'm not even a part of the organization, but I can see that from afar. The dedication, the exposure, the social media is just top tier. And it's like, sometimes that's all you really need, just to show y'all that we're here.
Right.
This is what we do.
Right. They invest in the talent. They invest in the teams. They invest in their brand, and I couldn't help but be a part of that.
Shout out to WMC.
Yeah, shout out. OJ, Dillo, y'all doing the thing.
For sure. And NFL replay assistant.
Yeah.
I want to tell you, like I said before, I got so hyped when I see you posting on ESPN this year.
Yeah.
That was a fulfilling moment. One, just to be a woman in sport, it's not sport specific. Mm-hmm. We all kind of go through the same thing in different spaces, different areas, but just to see the recognition It's like, yo, I know her. Like, we had a conversation a couple months ago. What was that like?
It's maybe the 8th time where they had an all African American crew that was on the field for the NFL, but it was the first time where both the replay team and the crew on the field, so we're an entire crew, we all travel together during the season, where it was all African American. That was pretty historic. It was a big moment, but what I thought was even bigger was the fact that there were 3 females on a crew, which has never happened before, right? Like, there are only 3 females that are on field, period, in the NFL, but you had 3 females on a crew together, and they all happen to be African American. Like, what kind of moment is, like, that has to be celebrated. That is amazing. And I don't know if it was overshadowed or what, but the fact that it was even noticed by the media and talked about, I thought was amazing. So for those that hadn't seen something or hadn't thought it was possible or needed that inspiration, man, I hope it served as that. And I hope it's not the last time. Like, we're a part of the game. Like, we always have been. Why not have us there and celebrate it to where it becomes normalcy? And I can promise you, for the folks that were on that crew, like, it was just another game for us, right? But we understand, we understand what kind of moment it is and what it means. But, like, we weren't all fazed by any of that. Like, we're just like, we're going in to work this game excellently, knowing that now the scrutiny may be even more because, oh, they're all African American, or like, oh, they've got women on the crew. Like, so what? We're officials, man. This is what we do. This is what we do. This is what we're here to do. That's what it's about, to make that normal.
So we don't have to highlight it every time it happens, because it barely happens.
Right.
So what would you say to little girls, Black and brown girls, that are aspiring to be in your position? Because I feel like, just like every other sport, we get sports stories, we talk about certain things. But football specifically, we still, I mean, with every other sport, but it's like, how many little girls have a NFL replay assistant to look up to? Or a women's football player to look up to? So what does that mean for you to give it back and to have conversations like this, to show a kid, like, baby girl, I know they're not making space for you now. Mm-hmm. But look, if you keep on striving at what you want to get to, look, it's doable.
It is. I would, like, if I was talking into my former self, young girls today, just like, go for it. Whatever your idea is, I know it may be scary. I know it may be new. Maybe nobody else has done it before. Maybe they have. Maybe somewhere across the world, somebody else is thinking that same thing. Get out there and try it. Do it. Ask for it. Most of the opportunities that I've gotten is simply because I asked. Like, I asked for it. Like, nobody was thinking about, like, say, in IFAF and going to Canada and working the first Women's World Tackle Championships I worked. Like, nobody was looking for me. Nobody was looking for me and what I looked like. I simply asked, and they were just like, yeah. Like,
why not?
Give us your qualifications. And like, oh, shoot, you're actually qualified. Yeah, come on in. It's simply because I asked, and nobody who looked like me had ever asked for it before.
Closed mouths don't get fed.
Right? So give yourself that opportunity by putting yourself out there and trying it. Ask for it. So what if it's scary? There's going to be other people there who are just as scared as you are. Little secret is, most people are more worried about what you think of them than the opposite way around. So don't worry about being feared or being fearful when you go into spaces. Like, they're afraid of you and what you may think of them. So have some confidence going in about that. Like, you are worth everything that you think and more and more. I'd also say, like, give yourself the opportunity to grow and discover what it is that you want and like. Like, you are not just where you are, where you were raised, who your family is, and what you were told that you are. There's so much more out there. There's an entire world and new cultures, literally, and food and things to explore. Like, you can't just be this in this one area. Like, you are more than that. Give yourself a chance to discover who you are and who you could be. Allow yourself time to grow. it really is a beautiful process, man.
It is. And what does it mean to you, Dez, specifically, personally, to be a woman in sport?
Oh man, it's everything. I didn't grow up with a lot of people who look like me in the roles that it was in, whether it was basketball, although that started to matriculate, certainly not in football in the realms that I'm in, and definitely even didn't consider officiating. Like me as a woman in sport, I have so many positive aspects that can affect the game, in a good manner. Sometimes it just tickles me. So like I'm living the dream right now. I'm so happy that I decided to go this route and that I've had so many oppositions and supports like throughout it all. Like it's everything. I don't know what the next phase of my life is, but this phase, man, I'm living every moment of it.
That's dope. That's dope to see that, because sometimes we just need to see it can be done.
Right?
Literally, representation. Like, dang, she's doing it. I can do it too. And
you can.
Yeah.
You can.
And as simple as that. And finally, I want to ask you, throughout your sport journey, I ask people every episode, what do you want to expose about sports? So if you're talking to your younger self, if you're talking to another athlete, or if you're even just something that you wish somebody would have told you about this game.
I think I said it earlier. This game is such a metaphor for life. Like, live in each one of these moments and grow for them. Like, you think that everything is so big, but honestly, it's really small and you're a part of a bigger whole, of an entire picture. Still within that, you have the ability and possibility to affect serious change. So when you do it for the good, do it for the better. And when you do it, after you've done it, give back. Give back to it, because somebody else needs you as their inspiration.
For sure. For sure. Well, thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for sharing your experiences. Did I create a safe space for you? Because you know what about safe spaces.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. It's done. I don't look comfortable. I look safe. Yeah, no. I feel feeling good, man. It's great.
So where can we find you?
Man. So you can find me at, of course, follow WNFC. Any of the works that we do there, you'll see a few highlights of me talking about the rule stuff. You can find me at Dez Abrams on Twitter and on IG. And if you got a tournament, you'll likely just see me there if it's flagged, man. I'll be all over the place.
For sure.
You know me.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you again. Good luck with everything. You are inspiration to myself, and I'm sure plenty other women in sport, just to be doing what you're doing. So keep doing what you're doing. Keep breaking down barriers. Keep making history. And we know where to find you. We'll catch y'all in the next episode.